In the new era, regarding the creation of humans and the universe, and running the system of the universe, there are two fundamental perspectives. One is that the creator and operator of this universe is a God higher than this universe. The other perspective is that this universe came into being on its own and is running itself. This second view, although seemingly non-religious, is also a belief in which the universe itself plays the role of God. In this perspective, human desires play the role of the prophets, and forces of nature play the role of angels, while fortune and coincidence are its laws. Those who perceive to any extent the extraordinary laws and systems governing life in this world understand that terms such as fortune and coincidence cannot be used to explain these realities. The fact is that not a single evidence of denial of God based on acceptable knowledge criterion is there in the coffers of empirical tradition and reason. On the other hand, the existence of God is proven not only based on every scientific and logical standard, but he also openly provides proof of his presence through interventions in human history. In the form of the story of Noah's nation, we will see today the greatest evidence of the existence of God, the Most High and Sublime, whose signs can be seen repeatedly in the story of humanity. When those who deny God are asked for their reason for denying the existence of God, instead of answering this question, they ask, "What evidence do you have for the existence of God?" Another question raised is, if God has created this universe, then who created God? Instead of answering questions, asking irrelevant questions implies that you have no answer to the questions asked of you. The fact is that the human himself and this wondrous universe warrant that there must be someone who created and sustains them. as there is nothing in this universe that can create or sustain them. Therefore, it is entirely reasonable for the question to arise about who created humans and the universe. On the other hand, there is no known fact about God that would lead to the question of who created God. This question about God does not have any rational basis. Similarly, God's existence transcends human perception. No laboratory test can confirm that the report about the presence of God is negative. It can be proven that God exists. Not only does He exist, but He also provides undeniable evidence of His presence to humanity. However, God does not prove His existence in any science laboratory. For this purpose, He has continually addressed various human groups throughout history. The famous philosopher Descartes once said in Latin, "Cogito ergo sum." It implies that my thinking which is proven is the proof of my existence. In English, Descartes' Latin phrase translates to, "I think, therefore I am." Similarly, we can say about God, He speaks to humanity, therefore He exists. God has repeatedly spoken to humanity, and through His prophets, He awarded rewards and punishments for their nations, which will be awarded to all humanity on the day of judgment. Thus, despite remaining unseen, He has provided irrefutable evidence of His existence. According to the glorious Quran, that incident first occurred with the nation of Prophet Noah. After that, it occurred repeatedly with different nations until, for the last time, this reward and punishment were awarded in the Arab region, and then this reward and punishment was transmitted to all humanity as undeniable news. In The Human Story, we will see the stories of all these nations, one by one. And in the end, we will see how the news of these incidents of punishment during the time of the last messenger has been arranged to be transmitted to the rest of humanity as established fact. In this background, we will today see and listen to the story of the nation of Noah. The majority of researchers believe that the nation of Prophet Noah lived in that region of present-day Iraq situated between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. I am standing in the extreme southeastern region of Turkey, on a mountain named Mount Judi, about which the glorious Quran states as the place where the ark of Prophet Noah came to rest. In the Bible, this place is named as Ararat, but there is no contradiction between these two statements. Ararat is the name of the entire mountain range, whereas Judi is the name of the specific peak where the ark landed. On my left, you can see the border of Iraq. That is the area where the nation of Prophet Noah was settled. When the flood came, the entire area was flooded with water, and for a long time there was no sign of dry land here. Then, at the location of Judi, where I am standing, the first signs of dry land appeared. The ark of Prophet Noah came to rest here, and God's mercy showered upon Prophet Noah and his companions and showered aplenty. The Quran first narrates the story of Prophet Noah and his nation among the stories of all the prophets. Though the era of Prophet Noah is not exactly known, it is known that the valley of the Tigris and Euphrates, also known as Mesopotamia, was the first center of human civilization. The most important inventions of human civilization, such as concepts of time, mathematics, the wheel, maps, writing, and boats, all originated here. Historical evidence confirms that the descendants of Noah and others with them on the ark would have been the first to populate this area. And naturally, this area would have become the first center of human civilization. We have seen that Prophet Adam was the first prophet, and many prophets came after him, but Prophet Noah was the first messenger sent to any nation. A messenger is someone who, being in the position of a prophet, receives God's message through revelations and delivers it to others. However, along with that, as a messenger, his main characteristic is that he comes as that divine court of justice for his people, which decides the fate of the nation in this very world before the day of judgment. In this way, those who do not believe in the punishment and reward of the hereafter are told through a complete model of God's justice in this very world that the God who is making this minor day of judgment happen will also establish the actual day of judgment. The Day of Judgment is the name of the day when God will dispense justice to all criminals and reward the righteous. When a messenger comes, he demonstrates the same Day of Judgment on a small scale to the extent of a nation and their area in this world. The messenger tells his people on the very first day that if his call is not accepted, then all deniers will be killed in this world, and only those people will be saved who embrace faith and obey the messenger of God. A messenger is called a messenger because, according to his exact challenge, when the decision about the nation is executed, it is ultimately proved that he has been sent by God. That is the literal meaning of a messenger. Viewing it from another perspective, a messenger initiates the history of humanity to the extent of his nation in a way that, after the destruction of the deniers of the nation, only those believers remain who have seen the majesty and glory of God Almighty directly as their ancestors, Prophet Adam and Eve, had seen. All these things are present in the life of a messenger, and its first appearance was through Prophet Noah and his nation.
God Almighty makes his prophets models of reward and punishment. That means he chooses them and tells them, "You have to convey my message, but your very existence now becomes a testimony and evidence." It is also a testimony in the sense that the manifestation of my presence happens with you, and also a testimony and evidence in the sense that if you remain steadfast in goodness, this presence of mine will be available to you. And if you make a mistake at some place, you will be held accountable for it in this very world, just as happened with Prophet Yunus. It is stated as a law in the Quran, and it is explained that when this testimony occurs, and the messenger is present in the world, the beginning of both reward and punishment also starts in this world.
The glorious Quran narrates the story of Prophet Noah in several places. Chapter 71 is solely dedicated to the circumstances of Prophet Noah. Besides the glorious Quran, the story of Prophet Noah is also mentioned in the Bible. According to the narratives in the Quran, the nation of Prophet Noah was afflicted with polytheism and idol worship. In the Quran, their idols are named Wad, Suwa, Yaguth, Yauk, and Nasr. They were probably their elders who, after their death, were imagined to possess supernatural powers, and based on this premise, the practice of seeking help from them began, followed by their worship so they could become their recommendatory in the court of God. In the beginning of his call, Prophet Noah made it clear to his people that he was sent by God to inform them that they should abandon polytheism and accept worshiping one God. Otherwise, they would be annihilated. In response, his people not only rejected his call to monotheism, but also began to mock him, saying, "You are neither an angel, nor do you possess knowledge of the unseen, nor are you unusually wealthy that we should accept your eminence and superiority and take your words seriously." Instead, they said, "The fact is that only our lowest people have gathered around you." In a similar way, we had sent Noah as a messenger to his nation. He said to the people of his nation, "I am an open warner for you that you should worship no one but God. If you do this, I fear for you the torment of a painful day." At this, the chiefs of his nation, who were disbelievers, said, "We consider you only as a person like us, and we only see the lowliest among us blindly following you. We do not think that you have any superiority over us. In fact, we are thinking of you as a blatant liar." Prophet Noah's nation had objected that they saw him as just another human being like themselves. But it is a special arrangement of God that no material superiority is given to the messenger over his people, so that people are not influenced by his mere status to follow the messenger. With that background, generally, kings, very wealthy individuals, and scholars are not chosen as messengers. Before the mission of messenger and prophethood, they do not have the knowledge of the unseen or any extraordinary powers. Similarly, angels are not sent to humans because then the veil of the unseen would not remain intact. It is done so that whoever believes in the messengers does so solely based on evidence and is not influenced by anything else. However, that does not mean that the messengers do not have any status in society. The messengers always came from noble families, and their personal and familial virtues, nobility, goodness, and conduct were recognized by the entire society. Therefore, when they stood up to speak in society, people listened to them seriously. Regarding the messengers, God also takes another measure, allowing their deniers to go to extreme lengths of opposition, but it is not possible for anyone to cause any physical harm to the messengers in any way. For this purpose, at times, they are given miracles which terrify their opponents, and sometimes the protection of their family and tribe is provided so that touching one person from the tribe would mean engaging in an all-out war with the whole tribe. Besides, messengers also receive special protection from God Almighty, so that their people cannot act on their hostile intentions, just like the threat given to Prophet Noah by his people has been narrated in the glorious Quran as follows. At this, they said, "Noah, if you do not desist, you will surely be stoned to death." The messengers informed their people clearly that God backed them, and by disobeying God, they could not escape but would be destroyed collectively. The deniers responded to this warning with a similar threat or action. This happened with every messenger. However, God completely safeguarded every messenger, including Prophet Noah, and destroyed the deniers. Before them, the people of Noah denied, and so did the groups after them. Each nation planned to lay hands on their messenger and fought with the weapons of evil in order to defeat the truth. So, I seized them. Then, how was my punishment? The decision about the nation of the messengers is to be made in this world. Therefore, it is